The Galactic Council chamber hung suspended in the void between stars, a crystalline monument to diplomacy that had stood for 12,000 years. Within its translucent walls, representatives from 473 species gathered in their designated atmospheric zones, separated by shimmering force fields that allowed light and sound to pass while maintaining each race's environmental requirements. Ambassador Thelxara of the Vossian Collective raised 3 of her primary appendages, signaling for attention. The gesture was ancient, codified in council protocol for the last 6 millennia. Around her, the assembled representatives settled into their waiting postures, some sitting, others floating, a few entering meditative stasis. Honored members, Thelxara's translator rendered her chemical signals into audible speech. We reconvene the 947th session regarding the contested zone. As you recall from our previous session, 83 years ago, the Krell Dominion proposed a 3-phase resource extraction timeline. In the observer's gallery, Commander Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Force tried not to roll her eyes. Humanity had been granted provisional observer status in the Council only 2 months ago, after their faster-than-light capability had been verified and their application processed through the standard 7-year review period. She'd been warned that Council proceedings moved slowly, but this was absurd. The contested zone was a mineral-rich nebula claimed by 6 different species. For the past 347 years, the Council had debated who had the right to harvest its resources. Committees had formed subcommittees. Working groups had spawned task forces. Proposals had been drafted, revised, redrafted, and tabled. Not a single gram of ore had been extracted. Meanwhile, 2 of the claimant species had nearly gone extinct, waiting for a resolution, forced to import basic materials at devastating economic cost. Sarah listened as the Krell representative stood to respond. His species measured time differently than most. Their homeworld's year was equivalent to 12 Earth years. When he said he wanted to briefly address 3 points, Sarah knew she was in for a long haul. 2 hours later, when the session finally adjourned for a scheduled 30-year recess, to allow all parties adequate time to consider the Krell's response, Sarah made her way to the human diplomatic suite. Ambassador Williams was already on the quantum link to Earth, his face illuminated by the blue glow of the holocommunicator. Telling you, Mr. Secretary, these people make continental drift look hasty. 3.5 centuries on one dispute. Sarah waited until he finished his call. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. And you can skip the formality, Commander. After sitting through that session, I think we're beyond standing on ceremony. We could solve this, sir. In a day. Williams leaned back in his chair. I'm listening. 6 hours later, Sarah stood before the Council's emergency session. The expedited meeting had caused quite a stir. Emergency sessions were reserved for existential threats and required unanimous consent to convene. The fact that humanity had managed to get 473 species to agree on anything in under a week was itself unprecedented. Honored members, Sarah began, dispensing with the traditional 17-minute opening benediction. Humanity respectfully submits a solution to the contested zone dispute. Thelxara's translator crackled. But the analysis phase isn't scheduled to conclude for another. We're aware, Sarah interrupted, committing what was probably a grave breach of protocol. We're proposing an alternative framework. It's called first come, first served. Confused chemical signals and electromagnetic bursts filled the chamber. The concept is simple, Sarah continued. We've taken the liberty of mapping the contested zone with our survey drones. We've identified 6 primary harvesting sites, each rich in different mineral compositions. We propose that each claimant species takes 1 site. The assignments are based on which resources each species needs most urgently. We've already run the logistics. With proper scheduling, no one's harvesting operations will interfere with anyone else's. The Krell representative's vocal sac inflated. This is highly irregular. There are protocols. Historical precedents must be reviewed. Environmental impact studies must be conducted across multiple generational timescales. We did those, Sarah said, pulling up holographic displays. Last Tuesday. The zone can sustain simultaneous extraction at all 6 sites for approximately 800 years before depletion. That gives everyone plenty of time to profit and plan for alternative sources. But the legal frameworks, a Vossian counselor protested, the trade agreements, the taxation structures, these require careful deliberation. Draft agreements are in your data packets, Sarah said. Standard templates modified for species-specific requirements. If everyone agrees in principle today, your legal teams can handle the technical details. You can debate the fine print for the next century if you want, but the mining can start next month. Silence fell over the chamber. It was, Sarah realized, probably the first time in millennia that the council had been rendered completely speechless. Finally, the eldest member, a contemplator whose species had been part of the council since its founding, spoke through its translation device. You accomplished in 1 week what we could not resolve in 3 centuries. How? Sarah smiled. Respectfully, Elder. Humans don't have centuries. Our individual lifespans are short. If we spent 300 years talking about a problem, everyone who started the conversation would be dead. We've learned to make decisions quickly because we have to. We make mistakes sometimes, sure, but we'd rather make a mistake and fix it than wait for perfection that never comes. The vote was called. For the first time in council history, a major dispute was resolved in a single session. The final tally showed unanimous approval, with only 47 abstentions, practically miraculous by council standards. As the chamber emptied, Thelgzara approached Sarah. Your species is unsettling, Commander Chen, but perhaps that is what this council has needed. We have become so careful not to make wrong decisions that we have stopped making any decisions at all. Sarah extended her hand, another human gesture that was rapidly becoming popular among council species. Elder Thelgzara, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, just maybe at a slightly faster pace than you're used to. The Vossian's translator captured what might have been laughter. We shall see, Commander. We shall see. By the time Sarah returned to Earth, 3 other centuries-old council disputes had been referred to human arbitration. The galaxy was learning that sometimes the best solution wasn't the most carefully considered one. It was simply the one that actually got implemented. Humanity had found its role among the stars, not as the strongest species, not as the oldest or wisest, but as the ones who got things done. And in a galaxy that had been talking for millennia, that was exactly what was needed.